So this is the view outside of my cabin. The drive up to Oregon was incredible, especially the view of Mount Shasta. It's a pretty big cabin. Spent the last day and a half preparing and organizing. There's my little chair. The bear is somewhere in there. We haven't seen him, but we've seen the remnants of his foraging in the shrine room down the road there a little bit. Yeah, so this is my view for the next 12 weeks plus. I don't know how much time I'll be able to find to do this update again. It's a lovely little cabin. It's really large inside. Spent the day doing preparations, organizing, cleaning, doing some preparatory practices. I wonder if the bear is down in there. So there was a snake in this bush here yesterday. It was very green, bright green snake. And it just was hanging in midair looking at me. So it's going to be a pretty moderate summer, I think. We'll have some mosquitoes, and it'll get warm a little bit. But you can see how large the cabin is. There's a kitchen in there, and a tiny little refrigerator. So we'll send out the torma every day and put it on the log at the end of that little pathway there. We'll take a look to see what animals and such have eaten the torma. Yeah, very peaceful. You can see the different prayer flags. I put the colorful one up, but the blue one was here. And I put the karak up by the post. Oh, that's my shower, that bucket there. So I was walking around setting the boundaries and nosing around, and every time I heard a noise in the bushes, I just jumped about half a foot and had some insight into possibly how Guru Rinpoche flew from Tibet to Bhutan. I think he might have heard or seen a mouse or a rodent, and it made him fly. It certainly does that to me. So we're signing off now. I don't know the next time we're going to be able to do this. Maybe in about 4 weeks. And here we go. 100-day retreat. So there's my friend the bear. There's a young bear. This is just day 2, and not sure what he's looking for. He doesn't seem very aggressive, but I thought I would. He has a pretty face. Okay. Have a good day. Go on. So the bear came by again yesterday. It's a very small bear, juvenile, looking for food. Seems very docile, but we stay away from him or her. Here's my neighborhood. So a couple things I've learned about walking on trails. First of all, I can't remember what a... did you hear that? I can't remember what poison oak looks like. So we shall see what happens. And if there's a rustle in the bushes, as much as I love rodents, if it's a fast rustle, it's usually smaller than me and trying to get away faster. And then the other kind of rustle is the one, like, if I step on that twig, it'll make a sound in the leaves that it's touching. So we're going down to the place where I do my second session. It's the shrine room there. There's a little salamander, one of my neighbors that lives in a log cabin similar to that, right outside my porch. Salamander's head looks very rodent-like, but the rest of it doesn't. I have been spilling red food coloring everywhere. So here we are at... We'll make a circumambulation here. There's a little pond there. Blow away the mosquitoes that are biting me. The little creek is down in there. Not sure if you can hear it. So you know the story of the rope and the snake. I saw this the other day. gave me a jump. It's a garden hose. That's my chair, or the chair that I'm using. I actually live this little tree. I don't know what it's called. Okay, let's see if the bear comes to join me. I don't know when I'll have a chance to video again. This practice is starting to get a little intense. But today's contemplation was on impermanence. And Longchen said that contemplating or meditating on impermanence is the foundation for all of Dharma. So that's kind of a bummer, but I was noticing the very rich smells of the forest, not including this old door here. This is an old door. The dead twigs and wood and moss and things like that. And from far away, the smell is really magical. It's very enchanting. And as you're walking through the forest, depending on where, the some of the sources of the smells up close may not be quite so nice. As a matter of fact, some of the wood is rotting and some of the moss is rotting, but it all makes up part of that alluring smell from afar. So this is where I place where I send out the torma at the end of the last session, and you see there's a little bit of food coloring, red food coloring there. You see that some people, some critters are taking the torma, which is great. And my friend Nick, a couple of weeks ago, I was telling him that last time I saw him paint the wrathful torma, he didn't add enough water, and that the blood red look of it kind of frightened me. And anyway, we're going after blood red because I'm not sure what's in this forest at night. So these are the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. For a couple of my friends who aren't Buddhists, they may wonder what that is all about. And I think it's inside of these words is I think the reason why I came out here for these 100 days. So what a bodhisattva is literally means a person who aspires to have an awakened heart. And the traditional metaphor for bodhisattva is somebody who delays their own enlightenment so that all the rest of the world can be enlightened first. And that's kind of a hard thing to wrap our heads around. So I just thought I'd read this text. Homage of Avalokiteshvara. You see that all phenomena neither come nor go. Still you strive solely for the benefit of beings. Supreme Teacher and Protector Chinrezi, to you I continually bow with body, speech, and mind. The perfect Buddha's sources of benefit and happiness arise from accomplishing the genuine Dharma, since that in turn depends on knowing how to practice. The practices of a bodhisattva shall be explained. Now that you have attained the precious human body, the great boat so difficult to find, in order to free yourself and others from the ocean of samsara, to listen, reflect, and meditate with diligence day and night is the practice of a bodhisattva. Passion towards friends churns like water. Hatred towards enemies burns like fire. Through dark ignorance, one forgets what to adopt and what to reject. To abandon one's homeland is the practice of a bodhisattva. Giving up negative places, mental afflictions gradually decrease. With no distractions, virtuous activities naturally increase. When mind becomes clear, certainty in the Dharma is born. To rely on solitude is the practice of a bodhisattva. Old friends and relatives will separate. Possessions gained with exertion will be left behind. Consciousness, the guest, will leave the guest house of the body. To let go of this life is the practice of a bodhisattva. When friendship with someone causes the three poisons to increase, degrades the activities of listening, reflecting, and meditating, and destroys loving kindness and compassion, to give up such a friendship is the practice of a bodhisattva. When, in reliance on someone, your defects wane and your positive qualities grow, like the waxing moon, to cherish such a spiritual friend more than your own body is the practice of a bodhisattva. Themselves captives in the prison of samsara, whom can the worldly gods protect? Therefore, to seek refuge in those who do not deceive the three jewels is the practice of a bodhisattva. The suffering of the lower realms, so difficult to bear, is the fruit of wrong deeds. So the Buddha taught. Therefore, even at the cost of your life, never to commit negative actions is the practice of a bodhisattva. Like dew on a blade of grass, happiness in the three realms evaporates in a single instant. To strive for the supreme state of liberation that never changes is the practice of a bodhisattva. From beginningless time your mothers have cherished you. If they now suffer, what good is your own happiness? Therefore, in order to liberate limitless sentient beings, giving rise to bodhicitta is the practice of a bodhisattva. All suffering comes from yearning for your own happiness. The perfect Buddhas are born from the intention to benefit others. Therefore, to truly exchange your own happiness for the suffering of others is the practice of a bodhisattva. Even if someone driven by desire steals all your wealth or incites someone else to steal it, to dedicate to this person your body, possessions, and all your virtue of the 3 times is the practice of a bodhisattva. If someone cuts off your head, even when you have not done the slightest thing wrong, through the power of compassion to take his misdeeds upon yourself is the practice of a bodhisattva. Should someone slander you throughout a billion worlds with a heart full of love to proclaim his good qualities in return is the practice of a bodhisattva. If in the middle of a crowd of people someone reveals your hidden faults and abuses you for them, to see him as a spiritual friend and to bow with respect is the practice of a bodhisattva. If someone whom you cherish as dearly as your own child takes you for an enemy, then like a mother whose child is sick, to love that person even more is the practice of a bodhisattva. Even when someone who is your equal or inferior, driven by spite, seeks to defame you, to place him on the crown of your head with the same respect you would accord your guru is the practice of a bodhisattva. Though gripped by poverty and always scorned, though stricken by disease and tormented by evil spirits, to take upon yourself the suffering and negativity of every being and never to get discouraged is the practice of a bodhisattva. Though famous and prominent, someone to whom others bow, though you amass the riches of the god of wealth, and to see that worldly splendor has no essence, and thus to be without arrogance is the practice of a bodhisattva. If you have not tamed the enemy of your own anger, combating outer opponents will only make them multiply. Therefore, with an army of loving kindness and compassion, to tame your own mind is the practice of a bodhisattva. Sense pleasures are like salt water. The more you partake of them, the more your craving will increase. Therefore, when something arouses attachment, to abandon it immediately is the practice of a bodhisattva. All appearances are your own mind, and mind itself primordially transcends all mental fabrications. Knowing this is the precise nature of reality, to remain free from dualistic conceptions is the practice of a bodhisattva. When you encounter objects that please your mind, know that they are like rainbows in the summer season. Though they seem beautiful, to see they are not real and to give up attachment to them is the practice of a bodhisattva. All suffering is like the death of your child in a dream. To take such delusive appearances as true, how exhausting. Therefore, whenever you encounter unpleasant circumstances, to see them as delusions is the practice of a bodhisattva. If those who aspire to enlightenment willingly give up their bodies, what need is there to mention external objects? Therefore, with no hope of reward or benefit, to give with generosity is the practice of a bodhisattva. If lack of discipline prevents you from benefiting yourself, then your wish to benefit others is just a joke. Therefore, to guard discipline with no longing for worldly existence is the practice of a bodhisattva. For a bodhisattva who seeks a wealth of virtue, every harm is like a precious treasure. Therefore, without getting irritated by anything at all, to cultivate patience is the practice of a bodhisattva. If Shravakas and Prateka Buddhas who strive for their benefit alone expend effort as if to extinguish a fire burning on their heads, then for the benefit of all beings, to cultivate joyous effort, the wellspring of positive qualities, is the practice of a bodhisattva. Vipassana, perfectly endowed with shamatha, completely conquers all afflictions. To cultivate meditative stability that transcends the four formless states is the practice of a bodhisattva. Without superior knowledge, it is not possible to attain perfect enlightenment through the first 5 paramitas alone. Therefore, joining it with skillful means and not just conceptualizing about the 3 spheres, to cultivate superior knowledge is the practice of a bodhisattva. If you have not analyzed your own confusion, you might put on a dharmic facade while behaving in a non-dharmic way. Therefore, to continually analyze your delusion and then discard it is the practice of a bodhisattva. If compelled by your own afflictions you speak of the faults of other bodhisattvas, you yourself will degenerate. Therefore, never to mention the faults of those who have entered the Mahayana path is the practice of a bodhisattva. Desire for gain and honor leads to arguments, and activities of listening, reflecting, and meditating decline. Therefore, to relinquish attachment to the households of friends, relatives, and sponsors is the practice of a bodhisattva. Harsh words disturb the minds of others and compromise a bodhisattva's right conduct. Therefore, to give up harsh and unpleasant speech is the practice of a bodhisattva. Once you become accustomed to mental afflictions, they are hard to cure with antidotes. Therefore, with the remedies of mindfulness and awareness, to eliminate mental afflictions the moment they arise is the practice of a bodhisattva. In brief, wherever you are and whatever you do, always examine the state of your mind, cultivating mindfulness and awareness continuously to benefit others is the practice of a bodhisattva. To clear away the suffering of all infinite beings with superior knowledge, free of the concepts of the 3 spheres, and to dedicate the merit accumulated through these efforts to enlightenment is the practice of a bodhisattva. Relying on what is taught in the sutras, tantras, treatises, and the words of the genuine masters, I have composed these 37 bodhisattva practices to benefit those who wish to bodhisattva's path. Because my intelligence is small and my studies few, I cannot compose poetry to please the scholars. Yet, since they are based on sutras and the teachings of the genuine masters, I believe these practices of a bodhisattva are not mistaken. Nevertheless, since the vast conduct of a bodhisattva is difficult to fathom, for one with an inferior intellect such as mine, I pray to the genuine masters to consider with patience all my mistakes, such as contradictions, incoherence, and so on. By virtue of the merit gathered here, by the power of relative and ultimate bodhicitta, may all sentient beings become like the protector Chinrezi, who dwells neither in the extreme of existence nor in that of peace. So here is a postcard picture of the meadow. The picture of the postcard meadow. We have to walk through this little marshy bog area, probably using the wrong terms. And to the left of where that meadow is in the distance there, there's a little pond with a lot of frogs and other creatures. And that where the meadow ends, right around where the pond is, if you count, let's see, 6 trees, tall trees, towards the left, and then 40 trees straight ahead. That would be right about where my cabin is. So anyway, I was on my walk today and I had to take a picture of the meadow.